Greg Wyshynski, ESPN. Hi, friend.
Hello, how are you? I am here. I got here last night under cover of darkness to avoid tropical storms and all sorts of malarkey that I imagine are impacting lots of people today in Florida.
How was your travel story? We've heard so much about how far these places are from each other. So how was the travel?
It was fine because I flew through Minnesota and had a 3 or 4 hour layover. So I just ate a couple Juicy Lucy's and slammed some IPAs and wrote a story for the site today. Because as you know, boys, what is beer if not brain juice?
You also tweeted about WestJet offering boozy flight meal packages, which respect.
They have combo meals on WestJet that are a can of Pringles, a small bottle of Bacardi, and a Coke, which Canadian technology well ahead of ours, boys. I don't know.
That's what we call a boy dinner.
Yes, exactly. What I noticed was that one of those combos had coffee crisp. And I guess I didn't consider that once you get onto the Canadian plane,
they got Canadian snacks.
Kind of in Canada.
Yeah.
That is their jurisdiction. So you can get the coffee crisp. So are you fucking those things up or what?
I didn't eat on the plane. I had 2 Juicy Lucy's in the airport. I just told you that.
Juicy Lucy's is outrageous, by the way. To those who don't know, a Juicy Lucy is a burger with a gob of cheese in the middle of it. It is fantastic, and it is a Minnesota staple.
Yeah, if cooked correctly, the cheese spits at you like an Egyptian asp. So it's pretty dope. I planned my eating day around going to the Minnesota airport and eating Juicy Lucy's while I was waiting for my flight to Edmonton. But what we're talking about, the coffee crisp is sort of, I couldn't figure out if that's the burger or the fries in the WestJet combo meal. Like you've got chips, I go maybe that's the fries, and the coffee crisp is the protein in the combo meal. I don't know. I don't pretend to know anything about WestJet except that the plane looked like it was an Eastern Airlines plane from 1983, and I was considering asking the stewardess if I could smoke on the plane.
Amazing. Yeah. I'm realizing you're in the arena. You're in the damn building.
What'd you think I was going to do this? Do you think I'm
hotel
somebody who's going to do the hit from the courtyard or whatever, and the camera is over here and you see curtains behind PK Subban? Come on, man. I'm a professional. What
we were hoping that you would do it from the moss pit, where I can only assume the Edmontonians are already gathering and breakdancing in anticipation of Game 3. You said you don't pretend to know anything about something, but do you pretend to know anything about this series so far? Because I can't. I don't know anything about this series so far.
Let's talk about outdoors for a second.
Okay.
The juxtaposition between Fort Lauderdale and Edmonton, it's jarring, boys. It's a bit jarring. I would say it has real strong going from Arrakis to the Harkonnen home planet energy. If we were going to get Dune about it, there's nobody out there quite yet. It's a gloomy cold day. I'm sure they'll be out there, tomorrow.
Oh, no, I've decided that it's just going to be a fucking scene. So no matter what happens, I'm going to treat it as though there are dance circles and it's going to be amazing. No?
But no, I mean, I'm hoping the enthusiasm is still there for this team. Because Pete, you asked me about the series. Well, here's the series. The series is in Game 1. They came out, the Oilers, and played great. And they continued over what they had done in the Dallas series, and everybody was feeling really good, even though it was a 3-0 loss. Everybody was feeling really good. Oh man, the dam's gonna break at some point. And then in Game 2, they played worse, and then Florida played probably 10x better, right? And so you come back here, and you're wondering, okay, how do you turn this thing around? Because not only are the Panthers now really better than they were in Game 1. But also, you're kind of in the same spot the Panthers were last season, where your bodies are breaking. Paul Maurice joked that they had 16 healthy people in practice at all times during the last 2 rounds of last year's playoffs. I mean, that's probably less than what the Oilers have right now. So not only are you not playing well, but also you're beat up. So I don't know the path back for them at this point.
And it's there. They're fine. The big news of the last couple of days: Draisaitl not suspended for the hit on Sasha Barkov, and now we'll see what all the fallout is there. But Barkov did practice today in Florida, not in Edmonton. God knows what those bozos are doing down there. But do you think that this is going to be something that carries over and that will affect the series going forward? Because if I'm the Panthers and I have a 2-0 series lead, yeah, I want to get vengeance and all that, but also like I don't want to give the Oilers power plays when they're 0 for 7 and are extremely due.
Well, first of all, what they're doing in Fort Lauderdale, I'm guessing, is seeing the sun, which is something we're currently not doing in Edmonton.
You're so bummed about Edmonton.
I know the vibes are so bad.
It's got real strong St. Louis energy, boys. I'm not going to lie to you.
Oh.
I don't mean St. Louis takes praise either, but
Sean just laughed out loud.
That's from where we are. So they're not going to do anything. Here's what they'll do. They'll win the cup. Like that's pretty much better than anything they're going to be able to do to inflict revenge on Leon Draisaitl is crushing his childhood dream. I think would be the thing that they would do to get some semblance of revenge on him. The thing yesterday was really interesting because the sense I got from talking to some sources was that even if Barkov missed game 3, it still wouldn't have guaranteed that Draisaitl would have been suspended. Like I feel like it definitely would have increased the conversation about it, and ultimately he could probably still be suspended. But like I feel in talking to people, they saw the hit as not being predatory. They saw the hit as not being like intentional, right? And it was from a player that doesn't have a history of it. And so I'm not entirely convinced he would have been suspended even if Barkov couldn't play in game 3, even though like I am very much eye for an eye on this one. Like if he couldn't go, then Leon should sit for at least one game. But luckily it looks like he came out able to play. I don't want to say uninjured, but able to play.
Do you think that getting away from Barkov, assuming he plays because he was in a normal jersey, regular thing in Florida, do you think that it being in Edmonton will benefit the Oilers, that they could just get him the fuck away from Connor McDavid?
Yeah, that's kind of important. Considering that McDavid doesn't have a goal in the series yet, it's kind of important. Yeah, I think, listen, I think they're going to get McDavid's line out at every opportunity when Barkov's not on the ice, just to try to get that matchup, try to win that matchup. It's the one line you can depend on this Oilers team right now. And if we talk about a path to victory, and again, Deej, like Oilers for life. I picked them in 6. The math still checks. Like if they're gonna come back, it's gonna be on the strength of that line, and it's gonna be on the strength of them figuring out how to get it away from Barkov as best as possible.
Do you feel like there's an air of inevitability around McDavid and his breakthrough in this series? Because I can't like shake the feeling over the past couple of days that he needs to have like the legacy game of all legacy games in game 3 in order for this team to have a chance.
No, I mean, like, we saw them control play really well in the Dallas series and play well as a team. And to me, that's more important right now than anything Connor does. Like, Connor's been good. Like, he's created opportunities. He's been present. He's done some really good things. He got a point in the last game. For me, it's more like you cannot allow the Panthers to dictate terms to you like they did in game 2. If you play like you did in game 1, there's a very good chance that you're going to be down 2-1 after game 3. Like they do have that path, but it's much less for me about McDavid having a 5-point night than it is the Oilers having 31 shots on goal and being dangerous. 3 breakaways in game 1. The power play was more dangerous in game 1 than it was in game 2. Like, repeat that, and you should be okay, and you won't need Connor to be McJesus in game 3. Which I understand.
You say that
he
as
doesn't like being called McJesus, which I found really weird. He doesn't like being called McJesus. There's probably like a Catholic guilt thing, but I've been called a lot of things in life. If someone was like, "Wish Jesus," I'm like, I'll take it. That's great.
Can we also note though, like whenever people turn 33, this drives me crazy. They're like, "In my Jesus year," I'm like, people know what happened to Jesus, right?
True.
Like obviously, like Jesus, like his aged well, we'll say, and like everyone loves him for all the cool stuff he did. Shout out the J-Man, but like it didn't go great in the end for Jesus.
Yeah, true. But I mean,
Well, I mean, let's see here. It's
his
been a
legacy
while
has
since I
been
went to-
great. His
His
great
legacy has been great. He is beloved centuries after his passing, and also if
He's got all
my
these
memory serves me
commercials.
correct, yeah, he's got all these commercials. Like again, everybody reads a different book, right? But I think the one I read said my dude came back from the dead and ascended to heaven and is seated at the right hand of God, which makes him basically God's Darth Maul, if we're being honest. But also,
I got that reference.
but also like he's in a pretty good spot. So if you're 33 and you're like, I'm in my Jesus year, and DJ's like, that means you're gonna die, then you can come back and say, but my second act will be even better than my first.
But Jesus was the original Nepo baby. People forget that.
It was. Exactly.
Hey, thanks for watching the channel.
We appreciate everybody who checks out our stuff, but 80% of our viewers are not actually subscribed to this page, so if you could smash that subscribe button, it would go a very long way for us.
The more subscriptions we have, the more visibility we get from YouTube, which allows us to do more.
So press that button. Thank you.
The thing about like your take on McDavid and you know, he's not necessarily the problem, you're a smart person. So I am worried about people blaming the Oilers losing on Connor McDavid, and which, you know, to a certain extent, like it may be true. Like they do need Connor McDavid to be better than 1 point through 2 games in order to beat the Panthers. But I also think like I want the takeaway to be that the Oilers lost, not that Connor McDavid fucking blew it or cost them a chance at winning this series. So like, do you think when all is said and done, it seems like you have the energy of the Panthers are going to win this series. Do you think that people are going to blame it on Connor McDavid at the end of it if Florida hoists the cup?
Yeah, they will, and it'll be dumb. But blaming superstars for the foibles of their team or their team's lack of success is sports opining 101. I've already heard it a couple times kind of being around the media in this series, the idea of like putting it on Connor and Leon to not having carried their team to a cup when, you know, neither of them can create a adamantium exoskeleton for Evander Kane so he can like have more than 1 assist in 9 games. I've always thought that Connor was a bit insulated from that kind of chatter because I always thought it was more, boy, they've never put a good team around him than anything that he did to warrant criticism. And I still think that there's going to be more people that are like talking about Nurse and Cece or talking about the bottom 6 versus what the Panthers bottom 6 has done than will be blaming this on McDavid. But there's definitely going to be criticism of McDavid and Draisaitl in the series, especially if the power play like goes over.
I mean, well, thank God FS1 doesn't do hockey stuff. I don't think they do. But like, if there were a Skip Bayless kind of like hockey show where they sit around, like Pete's right, and I think that it would be because of Game 1 of the Dallas series, because like there is a kind of smoking gun where there was one moment in the entire playoffs where you were like, McDavid could have done the thing and he didn't do the thing, and yeah, he ended up doing the thing like 25 minutes later. So it didn't really. No, I mean he did it in that same game. He ended up winning the game in double overtime. But I think that the fact that it's hockey also helps because yeah, like there's ridiculous talking heads, but they're not that level of it. You mentioned Draisaitl. I think that if there is a superstar that you could say like you kind of wish that guy got going, it isn't McDavid. It's not Kane because Kane isn't really a superstar. It probably is more Draisaitl where like if he can carry whoever he's playing with, and maybe it ends up, maybe Corey Perry gets back in the lineup. Who knows? Maybe it's him. Do you see him as more the guy that Edmonton's looking at, saying like, "Fuck, if this guy can get going, then maybe we're in business"?
Yeah, I think so because ultimately you have plausible deniability of McDavid's lack of production if it ends up being that way because he's going up against Barkov, right? And so it's okay to lose that matchup, much like it was okay for many years to be like, I tried my best, but Patrice Bergeron, what can you do? Leon doesn't have that for the most part. And I think you're right, that there'll be maybe more criticism of him not holding up his end of the bargain, because I thought before the series that he had a lane to the Conn Smythe if McDavid was held in check and he carried the team to victory. There was a chance that Draisaitl could win MVP, and he clearly hasn't done it yet. He still could do it, I guess. But it's funny when you start to kind of peel away the layers of this Oilers team, and then you're like, okay, Nuge, McDavid, Hyman, awesome line, and you're like Draisaitl, Dylan Holloway, the broken body of Evander Kane, Adam Henrique. Like you're kind of like, oh wait, they don't really have a lot surrounding their other megastar on this team. Especially with Kane being injured. So,
but that's a hard thing to argue after they beat Dallas with depth and outperformed Dallas's depth, who they were considered the deepest team in the league. And I also I would push back on the Barkov angle. And I know that Barkov's great and shut down for the best in the league. Connor McDavid is supposed to be the second coming. We've already talked about it. So I think that you lose some steam in that, he ran into Alex Barkov. McDavid's supposed to be better than everybody.
Bergeron did it to Crosby. The unbelievable two-way, quote-unquote, perfect player who isn't the best player. Historically, and I know that we're talking about very few people, but there is precedent. Even if everyone would take McDavid over Barkov all day. But Barkov's job, and sorry to answer the question for you, I'm just excited about it, is he got smoked in game 1. He just didn't allow a goal. Yeah. So that's surviving. Anyway.
The other part of it too, Pete, is that we're not talking about the last line of defense, which is Bobrovsky playing out of his mind in this series.
Yeah.
That's the other part of it too, is not only are they running into the best defensive forward in hockey, they're running up against an extraordinarily hot goalie. But I do appreciate after this nuanced discussion of should we blame Connor or not, Pete is in these squarely, man, LeBron's got to be better, man. It's all Dak Prescott's fault.
I mean, if the Celtics win, I heard on the way in today, all right, Porzingis is hurt. Perfect. If Tatum doesn't go off tonight, we're going to learn a lot about him. And I'm like, why did the Celtics win? They're going to go. They're probably going to go up 3-0 tonight. But
no, I'm
anyway.
just thinking that with the way that this series is going and kind of the frustrations piling on Edmonton, the depth not showing up, Barkov maybe being hurt, it's shifting back to home ice where you can maybe get away from Barkov. I feel like McDavid has to have a huge game in game 3 in order to dispel what might be coming against him.
I can listen. I think he dispelled it in the elimination game against Dallas. They're not here if not for him, right? So that's where I am. But I don't disagree with you. I think that ultimately, when you are looking for reasons why they lose this series, it's going to be pretty easy to put it on the 2 stars, and also much more interesting than the other possible reasons why they've fell behind. One of them being that the Panthers are just really good and confident and not looking very concerned at all about the Oilers after game 2. To be honest with you, so I mean, you're not wrong. I'm not saying that McDavid is is made of Teflon here. But I do think that there's other places I'd go with criticism before him. But I don't think you're wrong in saying that he'll. I mean, Mark Spector's got to be cracking his knuckles right now, right? With this team down 2-0 going back home.
Spitting in his hands.
Honest, we know where the criticism's going to come from.
Yeah. And
we know what it's going to sound like, and we're all going to be
insane.
At it.
Everybody's going to be pissy.
But I mean, I would say if you wanted to make a USA Today pie chart of it, I would say 70% not his fault, 30% his fault.
Oh, should we introduce the deserve to blame meter?
What are we gonna do? Meters. It's a pie chart. Let's keep. I'm in a hotel.
The deserve to win meter has been hot in the streets recently. Sarah Siv fucking hates it. Jackie Redmond's backing it up.
People calling for
suspensions.
hated it.
Now I'm kind of defending it a little bit. It's in a weird spot right now.
We're a deserve to win a meter.
Where do
you
land on the deserve to win a meter?
I have some real PTSD from American elections, so I don't like it very much at all.
Yeah, that is true. The NHL never went to Wisconsin, huh?
No,
that's right. That's exactly right.
I asked this question to John Buccigross yesterday because I think it's an interesting debate. if Florida wins and like nothing really pops over the next couple of games or however many it takes for them to hoist the cup, who's your Conn Smythe for the Panthers?
Oh, it's Bob. Like, easy. I think he won it in game 1. And I know that his numbers haven't been like stellar in the sense that other goalies that have won the Conn Smythe have been stellar, but he's if you're gonna say they won because they shut down the 2 best power plays in the NHL in Edmonton and the Rangers, he is a huge reason why. Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final was his signature moment. Like, he's been great. He outplayed Shesterkin, I think, in some cases in that series, if I'm being honest. Like, I think he's been great. And so I have no problem with him winning the Conn. I know you could probably make a case for Barkov too, but I think it's Bobrovsky.
Evan Rodriguez's parents watch this show, so very rude. Well, how do you feel about the CapFriendly thing? Because this seemed right up your alley. Where I'll explain it. Where the Capitals buy CapFriendly, Elliot Friedman says the NHL has wanted this shit to not be public for a long time. They don't want people to know. Here's the quote: the NHL believes they should not be in the business of publishing this stuff. As a matter of fact, I've been told several times that the relationship between the NHL and CapFriendly was icy. CapFriendly, of course, a database for contracts and cap hits, et cetera, and the NHL, per Elliot Friedman on 32 Thoughts, did not want that information public.
To be clear, though, like every relationship in the NHL is icy because the game is played on ice.
I don't believe. I listen. Elliot's probably right. It's an icy relationship, but teams release salary information now. Like, you have teams that just put it in press releases. I don't know why. Like, has the NHL cracked down on the Carolina Hurricanes for giving years and term and numbers and AAV in their contracts? No. So I don't think it's necessarily like they don't want the information out there at all, because the teams have started to do it. It sucks because I found it to be pretty user friendly before they mucked it up with all those like pre-roll ads that you have to click through before you get to the salary pages. So they kind of ruined the user experience a little bit in recent years. But my take on it as an internet old is that there's always something new that rises up. General Fanager begot Cap Geek, begot CapFriendly. It's the same thing with the stat sites that we've had through the years. War on Ice became Natural Stat Trick. I'm confident there'll be something else. I just don't know what it'll look like. And we have some sites now that are pretty good. I think in some cases maybe not as well sourced as CapFriendly was. But it's a bit of a bummer. The thing about Bettman and the salary cap sites is that he's kind of been of two minds. Like, he gets a lot of flack for having told me years ago that fans don't care about it. I think Bruce Arthur just wrote an entire column about that. His whole thing with me back in the day was that fans don't care about the information. To which I said, that's nonsense. Like, the entire league is played under a salary cap. Hot stove league transaction signings. That's what creates buzz about your product. And you're not giving fans the tools they need to have those discussions, because we don't even know how much money the teams have. We don't know how much money these players make, like, on an official basis. So the idea that fans don't care about it is nonsense. But there's a bigger conversation to be had, and it kind of speaks to what Elliot said about, the information being out there. And I do wonder ultimately what the NHLPA's part in this is. Like, do the players want that information out there? Do they want their contract terms out there? Do they want their bonus money structure out there? I don't know. And I've always felt that maybe the PA has more of a role in tampering the NHL's enthusiasm about having an official site than maybe people realize.
I mean, that was all out there in the first place just so guys could get paid what they were worth. Like, they wanted all the information to be public. So if we're doing the same job and we're in the same pair or whatever, and you make more than me when I'm up, it made sense to be public knowledge. So it would be really dated for the NHL to still think that shouldn't be out there.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people are confused as to the purchase from the Washington Capitals perspective. A lot of people saw the response like, why don't they just use it and go online like everybody else? Why do they have to buy them? Can you explain why the Capitals might go out and purchase a site like CapFriendly?
Yeah, they might do it because, one, they want to. I mean, they're hiring the people that ran it, so it's adding that sort of savvy and that intelligence to your operation from a salary cap knowledge standpoint and everything else. You're also creating the way it was explained to me by somebody who I spoke to was that to build out what they already do internally would have taken years and a lot more money than maybe they spent to acquire it. And so just buy the tech. Companies do it all the time. They just buy the tech, and then the tech goes away, and other people that use it can't use it. So the ancillary benefit is that the teams that are relying on CapFriendly to check numbers, or I talked to one place where a general manager got fired, another general manager came in, and they said that the old guy's office was covered in computer screens that had CapFriendly pages up on it, right? Like a lot of teams use it. And so by also buying it, you're taking that away from other teams. So there's a strategic reason for it, but mostly I think it's to not have to try to build it yourself because someone else already built it really well.
All right, Greg. Well, we can hear in the background shots missing. Are they going intentionally wide? Maybe they're practicing getting bounces off the end boards, and then maybe they can bury something. And it's not coming off the stick of Panthers.
There's one person in front of the net. There's like one person in front of the net. I can only assume it's Zach Hyman after they didn't get any high danger shot attempts in game 2. So there's a goalie and one guy shooting pucks in front of the net on the ice right now.
I love the idea that Zach Hyman's practice is just putting on his skates, going out on the ice, and just standing in front of the net.
Well,
doesn't really do anything.
I just assume for those guys like Hyman and Pavelski, it'd be like standing in front of the net and having people shoot the puck at them,
Yeah.
and then figuring out how to deflect it off their face correctly or whatever the hell they do.
We all silly like the mayor.